Hi, my rays of light, and everyone tuning in. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, this is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm going to be talking about spiritual boxes. And this is going to be a podcast format. I haven't done a podcast really in quite some time. I've done an Instagram live the other day, so be sure to check that out. But I was sitting here today working on my readings and what I do for clients and patterns that I see with the work that I do, and just experiences that I've gone through myself in friendships and just in life, working with coworkers, etc. And so I wanted to talk about spiritual boxes because I feel like they're, when it comes to life and spirituality, they interconnect, they intertwine, and they mesh together. And we often put ourselves inside of different boxes. And what I have found is that a lot of times we are prisoners of our own thoughts. So you could have someone sitting in prison or in jail that has more freedom in their mind than someone that is out on the street and that is free, that would be considered free, but they are mentally enslaved or mentally a prisoner in their own mind, trapped. Their thoughts are so trapped and confined. And in life, it's good to have someone or a group of people, a good support system, to kind of deviate away from that and break loose out of that mental prison that so many of us live in. And this could be, talking about mental health. You can relate to it as mental health, relating to it as your spirituality, your life path. I see a lot of men and women alike that are every day that come to me with issues, wanting insight, but a lot of times they are stuck in their own mental prison, a prisoner of their own thoughts. And it's very hard because we can give them insight and we can give them a path to make changes, but ultimately, if you are enslaved to your own thoughts and you've created the spiritual box, you're not going to get out of that. And it's regardless of how many psychics you go to seeking the answers that you seek, you are going to be trapped inside of that box. And this is going to be a really enlightening type of podcast. I think that a lot of you that are tuning in will find it very much helpful, because you may be going through that, and there's no shame going through being in spiritual boxes that we put around ourselves. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is the relationship box. A lot of us have put ourselves in a box with our relationships. And what I mean by that, to break it down and be a little bit more specific, is that many of us are in relationships that all the signs are there. Maybe the relationship is not the best person. You're living with someone that is a narcissist, or you're living with someone or dating someone that is a narcissist, or even just gaslighting. They're using gaslighting on you, they're being demeaning. But a lot of times when there is love for that person and you truly care, you will put yourself in a box and you are kind of numb and kind of don't really pay attention to the abuse that is going on in the relationship, whether it's verbal, mentally, or sexually, or even physically. A lot of times people will not pay attention to these things that are going on, and to them it's just like everyday, normal. Oh, well, that's just the way that they are, that's the way Tom is, or that's the way that Susan is. And I'm not just talking about women that are going through this, but men too, that are either in a relationship with another man, or they are in a relationship with a woman. It A lot of times you'll see that if you really pay attention and analyze your relationships and where you stand in that relationship on a romantic level, how much is that your partner contributing to you? Are you constantly getting them to asking them questions about their day, and they're easily evading that, or they just don't like to be questioned? Those are the red flags that start to be raised. And once you can start seeing through that, it's like having a blind closed, and you're opening that blind slowly, and as the light peers in, you can see past the inside of your house or the inside of the building that you're in. That's a good way for me to put an example with the boxes that you're in. A lot of us are inside of four walls, in our life, and we go through day-to-day functions, and the reality of it is that we feel trapped. But in some ways we are asking ourselves, why do I feel so unhappy with my life? Why is my life not on the trajectory or the path that I wanted it to be in the first place? How can I get to that ultimate, zen-like place and just be happy with my life and the direction? And you have to ask yourself, what is your focal point? If you are in a relationship and you're making that person your priority, and that is the center of your world and your reality, and you have not set up goals for yourself in life, this is where you will need to start in making yourself a priority and putting things that you like to do at the forefront of your life, and it's reclaiming your power. So when we start listening to people say that they are trapped in boxes, or they feel like they're trapped in their life or their stagnation, on a certain level, it's going to be a good time to kind of assess where you're at in your life and make some changes and set some goals. It's like having a deep conversation with yourself and analyzing your own life, charting it out on paper, making a list of your goals, things that you are motivated by. If you don't know what you're motivated by, then you're really are very trapped in a spiritual box. You have a box around you in your relationship with yourself and the relationship that you're in romantically, because there are two different relationships: the relationships that we have with ourselves. So a lot of you that would be tuning in would probably be saying at this time, well, Raymond, that doesn't make sense. How can I have a relationship with myself? I'm not dating myself. But in reality, you really are. You are responsible for yourself. No one is responsible for you than yourself, unless you're a child and you're under the age of 18 here in the US, and you are still living at home with your parents. They have a responsibility over you. But at the end of the day, as an adult and in the world, we have a responsibility as for ourselves, in a relationship with ourselves, and how we treat ourselves is how other people are going to treat us. So it's very important to know who you are so deep within. What is it that you want to project out into the world? What is it that you want from people, and what is it that you want for yourself that's going to make you happy? And these are the things that I think a lot of us that are really tuning in and going through these hardships and financial worries, etc., we never stop to really look at our own life and analyze, what is it that we can change? What is your relationship with yourself? Do you really love yourself? And a lot of times we will find that, for me, and I know that a lot of people can relate to that, my relationship with myself is good, but even as a spiritual person, I have my own inner demons, my own battles. And for me, it's always been my weight, and it's always been food and the relationship that I have with food. We have relationships with ourselves, and then it kind of deviates out into the world and different relationships that we have with our food, with addictions. For those of you that have ever had drug addictions, or that may have had addictions to smoking, I'm just giving you different examples, but like for me, it's always been food, and food is a comfort, and sweets in particular is something that I like. So I've had to understand that part of loving myself is not really seeing food as a comfort, because a lot of times we turn to food as comfort, and realizing that body positivity, first and foremost, that me loving myself and unconditionally and not judging myself. And I often get in that mind trap. In fact, the other day I did that podcast with psychic medium Seth Browder, and I kept looking at myself and I kept saying to myself, I look so fat from my face, I look so bloated. And then I said, and I asked some friends, and either were like, that's all in your head. And really and truly it is. I feel like we are our own worst critic. We are, yeah, the camera does add weight to us, but at the end of the day, this is what we can sit here and preach and talk about body positivity, but it's easier said than done. And I found myself in that mind trap, in that prison, in that spiritual box, mentally enslaved on that. And so that's the part of breaking that pattern, catching yourself, realizing that you can't continue to bash yourself. We're often our worst critic, and we the way that you talk about yourself is the way that you are kind of projecting that energy out into the world and setting the tone for other people on how they can treat you. And it falters out into the world of being bullied, depression, unhealthy coping mechanisms, and codependency. So again, this is just something, from my perspective, that I hope that, by sharing this with y'all, that a lot of you that are tuning in, that are my rays of light, and just people that are just listening that maybe are not subscribed to this channel, that would be able to really kind of listen to the message that I'm giving and sending out to you, and really process that. At the end of the day, your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship that you will have, and it sets the tone for everything else in your life. Relationships, friendships, your family, how your family treats you. So again, loving yourself and identifying that relationship. How healthy is your relationship with yourself? Do you have yourself in a spiritual box with your relationship with yourself? Are you trapped in some kind of way with yourself? Trapped thoughts, about not succeeding, fear of failure. These are common themes, common discussions, common talking points that we go through on a very real level. And a lot of us are doing things. Are you going to college? For those of you that are maybe over the age of 18 and are in college right now, are you going to college and pursuing a career that is something that you truly want to do, or is it something that your parents want you to do? And oftentimes I found out that there, and I've, just by life, etc., a lot of times we are going to college and doing, and getting a degree in something that wasn't even our dream to begin with. It was somebody else's dream. It could be your parents are living vicariously through you. Maybe they didn't go to college, or they did go but they didn't finish, and they have, they were going for the same thing that you were wanting to do. And we see that in a lot of families out there that have doctors, have nurses and lawyers, and you are stuck now in a career. And I say stuck because that's your present tense. You're not happy with your career. You're not happy in being a nurse. It's just not what you expected. And now you're like thinking, well, what else can I do? But, I'm also thinking that my age, I'm too old. I'm in my 40s, or I'm in my 50s now, and I'm too old to go back to school and start all over. And part of me doesn't want to do that. So again, these are the spiritual boxes, and the relationship that you have with yourself. You have to catch yourself. You just said that you were old. You're putting an age on yourself that is, doesn't define you, and a number doesn't define you as a human being, or limits you on the capabilities of the things that you can achieve. And once you change that mindset, that is going to kind of help you. A lot of people that are in their 40s or 50s may be dating someone that's younger, maybe by 10 or 15 years. And they may start feeling guilty that they're dating someone that age, because, they're worried about what other people are thinking. Again, this is a relationship with yourself, not so much the relationship with the person that you're in with, but you are consciously thinking about what other people are thinking. And you're not loving yourself unconditionally to know what you're worth. What does it matter what the world thinks? Love is love. And I feel like this is exactly what people need to understand and need to hear today, because a lot of us are going through life stuck in these prisons of thoughts. Our thoughts are our own prison, and we're enslaved to those thoughts, and it's unhealthy, and it needs to change. And this is part of mental health, and it's part of self-awareness, and it's part of loving ourselves unconditionally. And so, I'm very passionate when it comes about, helping people as a psychic, as a medium. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not a soothsayer. I am someone who is like a life coach. And I think a lot of people are referring to psychics as life coaches because, again, I want to give you tools. And what I pull out from people, when I am doing sessions, is what I see on a spiritual level. And sometimes people don't want to hear that. They want to hear what they were expecting, and not me digging really deep into what is really the root cause. And it's very hard to tell someone that, that you are the issue. You're your own worst enemy. But at the end of the day, I also try to be compassionate and put myself in their own footsteps and realize that they are human beings and that we all have feelings. And it's the way that, you can be giving someone advice and be a professional, and you could be someone that is being just flat out rude and ugly to people. And I've been there. I've gone to several psychics or gotten some psychic insight from people in the past, and they have been so rude on their delivery. It was so just obnoxious and so evil in many ways. It wasn't about empowerment. It wasn't about helping. Yes, some of the messages may have been true, but it's the way that you deliver. And I think if we're more conscious on how we deliver things and how we, judge people, those thoughts that you have. Another thing, when you are having a relationship with yourself, the way that you treat others, you have to kind of watch that, because a lot of times we could be spiritual, we can, be a Christian, we could be in any category, but you have created a spiritual box, where you've created a prison in your thoughts on the way that you project people. It could be social conditioning, maybe some slight prejudice or racism that you have been experiencing all throughout your life, with your family. Maybe they don't like a certain race, or they don't like a certain person, because of how, maybe because you come from a wealthy family, or a family that has, middle class or socially is on a better status than other people, and you see someone that's homeless, on the corner of the street, and they're holding a sign up, and you think that they're just, this fraudster, or this guy that is just trying to get money from people as a peddler, or whatever you call that. I don't know what the term is, but whatever that is, you can't judge people. And I often find that there are people that are like that, that they will see someone and kind of look them up and down and kind of judge them. You're judging a book by its cover, and you don't know that person's story, and you don't know what they've been through. A lot of, like I've said this before in different podcasts and different readings, etc., and made references to a lot of homeless. We have a big homeless problem here in the US, and the majority of these people are not homeless by choice. The first thing is that, oh, well, they're lazy, they don't want to work, or they don't want to do. You don't know their story. You don't know half of what they've gone through. Maybe they lost everything in a fire. Maybe it was a natural disaster. Maybe they don't have any family members. They've all died, or they've been turned away from their family, and they're in another state. There's a lot of different things that are going on. It's not that, they have a drug addiction, or necessarily that they're lazy, but maybe they have physical, and a lot of times people that are in these boxes will treat other people that way, and it's very hurtful, very painful. But again, going back to the core message of this podcast, the relationships that we have with ourselves need to be very healthy relationships, and identifying exactly those mental thoughts and thought processes and how we treat ourselves. Because if you are hating yourself and you're not loving yourself completely, when you see someone else that reminds you of yourself, you're going to probably treat them the same way. Or if you are not loving yourself, when you look at someone else, you can't see their beauty, even though they may not be that picturesque version of your beauty and your shine. They're in some kind of way, you're projecting a lot of how you treat yourself onto them. So again, breaking out of that prison is going to be very important for the relationship that you have with yourself, and getting out of that box, that relationship box that you have put yourself in, and breaking it through. And again, you can do that by doing those methods that I've said. I'm making a list, having goals, constantly, showering yourself with positive thoughts about yourself, and loving yourself. And you don't need someone to tell you you're beautiful or you're handsome to validate you or to make you feel, more of a person. You are strong enough, and you are worthy. And these are words that I feel like a lot of you need to practice on a daily basis, that would be listening, to really get to that level. And that is why a lot of people are struggling with weight, struggling with, and it's not, so much that we just don't love ourselves. And it's hard because this life is very hard. I mean, it's very, very hard when it comes down to it, to live and to be human and to experience pain and to experience pleasure, and to experience all the different arrays of emotions that we experience here. It's overwhelming at times. And so I'm an empath, and I can feel when a lot of my brothers and sisters out there, what you're going through photographs, through posts on Instagram, through not even a picture, but just what you write. A lot of people just write a post on Facebook on a status, just to keep their followers or their friends and family members aware of what's going on in their life. Um, and it's not easy, but if we were more compassionate, I feel like if we were more compassionate as a whole collective, and we were more caring and more generous and giving, selfless to others, this world would be definitely a better place. But what limits us from doing that is our own thoughts and our own boxes that we've put on ourselves. There are people out there, you could be with a partner that is very loving, it's very giving, does a lot of charity work and charity, things. And you could have a partner that is also doing it, but only doing it to impress their partner, or doing it for the wrong reasons, just to say, oh, hey, I was at this children's or this cancer benefit or charity, and I, did all this work. Oftentimes, the people that are very charitable and that do this kind of stuff, they don't parade that or, post it on social media, because it's something that they genuinely care about, and they don't want to, just post it so that people can, give them 1,000 likes, etc. So, if you are, stuck in, a lot of you could be saying, well, I don't have money to give to people or charity. You don't have to give money. And again, that's the trap, another trap that we put ourselves in these boxes. You can do something. So, maybe you have a craft. Maybe you're a woodworker, or you know how to sew very well. You could create some things and, send them to these organizations, donate them to them. Maybe you have tons of clothing that you're not using. You could donate those things, or canned goods that maybe are no longer being used by you, or you have an influx of them. Donate. But oftentimes we don't do that, and if we do, it's going to the wrong organizations or to the wrong places, and it's being filtered to people who maybe don't really need them. But again, it's all about our relationships with ourselves and with others, and what you are willing to accept. And once you notice your and identify those problems and those issues that you have, you're going to notice that your life is going to be running a little bit more smoothly. You're going to have a lot of control over your life, and you're going to have goals and be motivated. But if you're still feeling like blah, blah, nothing is going on, I'm stuck in this, I don't know if I'm stuck in this job, 9 to 5 job, and I'm really not happy with it. I'm not happy with my boss. I'm not happy with my friends. I'm not happy in my home. You kind of have to look and reassess the relationship you have with yourself. You're pointing fingers. Oftentimes we point fingers at everyone else, and the reasons we've justified in our minds, reasons as to why we are unhappy and why people have made us unhappy, or situations or jobs have made us unhappy. But it's ultimately up to us to change that. And if you can whine and you can cry and you can, go about it all day feeling sorry for yourself, but that's not going to change anything. The mentality that you need to do is to think ahead and raise yourself and lift yourself up from this situation that you're in, whatever it is, whether you're, in a bad relationship. If you want to move, the greatest part is overcoming the fear of change, the fear of moving out of that. And oftentimes we're stuck in a situation because we want to be, and it's not so much that because we don't have the sources or the finances. We make a lot of excuses as human beings, but at the end of the day, we have the ability to change our circumstances and not be victims of our circumstances. And it's all about telling yourself what you can do and taking a plan. A lot of these successful business owners and people that have been successful have started their businesses with just very little bit of money, an idea, a garage, or the back of their house or a room, and they've created over hard work and years and dedication empires when we look at people like Jeff Bezos, and I believe that's the name of the Amazon person, the Amazon CEO. If I'm wrong, correct me. But the owner of Amazon is who I'm referring to. Started off in his garage. There's a lot of people that are like that, that are mom and pop shops now, and that now have grown, over time, or they're inventors and they have patents over ideas, and this product just becomes a global success. And that's the kind of mentality. One thing that they say is that a lot of billionaires and billionaires tend to have more than 5 streams of income of revenue coming in from different areas. That could be real estate that they have invested on, and now they're renting or flipping those properties and renting them out to tenants. They could also have a winery, or have some kind of investments or shares into that, and so it's like they are thinking not in a limitation, or in putting themselves in a spiritual box, but rather thinking outside of that and reaching for those goals and that success, and how they can get to that. A lot of people team up and network with investors that believe in them and believe in their idea. And eventually, if you have a good idea, and eventually if you're passionate about your work and what you're going to do, you're going to attract these people into your life that really can help you. Also, when it comes to friendships, we have tons of life, in our life. We're going to go through a lot of friends, probably hundreds of friends. Well, maybe not hundreds, but maybe about 20 or 30 friends in your lifetime. It could be more than that. Some people have a lot of friends on Facebook, friends that are actually face-to-face friends. And so regardless of your relationships and the friendships that you have, a lot of us put our friendships in boxes as well. You may only go to your friend when you need something, or reach out to them when you need something, and you're not there as a friend, and you've put your friend in a box as well at the same time, by not being there. And we make excuses that we're always busy and we're always, life, but ultimately there's 24 hours in a day. And I've always said this before to my closest friends, and they are, fully aware. And I have maybe like on my hand, maybe about 5 people in my life, if even that I really trust, and I really are like confidants, and that really get me to the core of who I am. And I'm very thankful for having them, and they're like family to me. And so I hear a lot of people saying, well, I've been so busy, we haven't spoken in a long time, maybe weeks or months. And it's like, that is not really a friendship. That's more of an acquaintance. We can make so many excuses, but at the end of the day, texting someone, saying hello, how are you, or hello, I'm wishing you a beautiful day, I love you, that only takes like less than 2 seconds with technology that we have. And then you can respond whenever you want. But again, we put ourselves in these boxes, and these friendships in boxes. You could have a friendship with someone that is being so judgmental, and everything that they tell you is just negative, or they're bragging about all of their success every time you communicate with them, and they don't lift you up for your successes when you come to them, and you're telling them how successful and how good you are at what you've accomplished. Again, reassessing those friendship boxes that we've put ourselves in, those spiritual friendship boxes, and kind of changing that. If someone is not equally like 50-50, and you're giving 50% of your effort into that friendship, and your friend is only giving maybe 10% of that effort, and again, you're not feeling valued. Again, these are going to be the relationships or friendships that you need to reassess and cut the toxicity out of your life, cut the cancer, so to speak, out of your life that is not helping. Because a lot of these friends are friends that want one foot in the door to access to you, to maybe get some kind of help from you, or get maybe there's something that you can do for them, that at some point in your life. And so again, we hold on to these friendships because we don't want to lose anyone as a friend, but ultimately we are not blind and naive to know that they are not there for us like we would like them to do. So again, these are going to be the kind of things that you need to reassess. And I hope, like I said, that the message here with this podcast A lot of you will be able to relate to it and kind of start thinking very deeply, in the corners of your mind, in the wee hours of the night when you can't sleep. Think about your life. Think about who you are, what you want. How are you treating other people? What is your own assessment of yourself? Do you love yourself unconditionally? Do you bash yourself? Change those thoughts, change those patterns, break out of that prison of your thoughts, and just be free. And that is the ticket to freedom. That's a ticket to success. That's going to help you in so many levels to achieve what you're wanting to achieve in this lifetime and to ultimately feel fulfilled. I can say that I feel very fulfilled in the career that I have chosen, as being a spiritual advisor, being an ordained minister, being an author, being a YouTube personality, being a jewelry maker and an artist. I do a lot of artwork. I have different facets. I don't want to put myself in a category, so to speak. I'm a jack of all trades, and I feel very happy that I'm able to express myself and do different things, as a human being here on earth. And I feel like, if you can get to that level as well, you're going to be successful. That is how I've, reached a lot of the success that I've had. It's been by just being authentic and helping other people and not judging people and seeing the goodness in humanity, because there's so many souls out there that are good and are just wonderful. The world is a beautiful place if you really can see through the lens of being free and outside of these spiritual boxes. So that's the message I want to leave you with today. I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment in the comment section below. Let me know, what are your thoughts about this? How do you feel? Was this podcast useful? Was it helpful to you? Did you take anything? What did you take away from it? And these are the things that I'm wanting to know. And maybe you have an idea for a podcast for me to do on topics to discuss. So I'm always interested in my rays of light and anyone out there that is tuning in. And I give you big angel hugs. If you're going through any hardships, I really understand what you're going through. If you're going through an illness, or you're going through some bullying, or you're going through some suicidal or depressive thoughts, know that you're not alone. Talk to someone, get it out of your chest, but don't let the things that happen today be what is going to factor into your decisions for tomorrow, because where we are today can change tomorrow completely, and where we are from a year from now is going to be entirely different. So if you feel like you're stuck and nothing is ever going to get better, and you feel like bleak and like this is the end of the road, know that it's not the end of the road, that things are going to get better, and you have to believe in that, and you have to trust in a higher power, and you have to trust yourself above all. We are gods and we're goddesses. We're divine beings and we are full of love. And if you can see that and you can feel that and tap into any source that is a source of goodness and purity, you're going to find healing. And I hope you found healing from this podcast as well. So big angel hugs to you wherever you are in the world. Have an amazing day or night. Again, blessings and love and light.